Alright, hi guys, so here we are at part 2 of Wars of Empire. So we were taking you back to 1755. When they hear about the defeat at Fort Necessity and the surrender, Britain dispatches General Edward Braddock to the colonies to take Fort Nisqually from the French. The Braddock expedition, it's also called the Braddock campaign, or more commonly as it is in this slide, Braddock's defeat. It's a failed British military expedition which attempted to capture the French fort in the summer of 1755. It ended in disaster. Washington is with him. The men march in lines through the woods, while the French, who are aided by Native Americans, ambush them, guerrilla style. They ambush the 1,500 British soldiers and Virginia militant who had marched to the fort to take it on. The attack sends a panic through the British lines. Hundreds of British soldiers and militiamen died, including General Braddock, who was shot in the gut and dies 5 days later. The campaign of 1755 proved to be a total disaster for the British. In fact, in that year alone, only one victory is counted to the British, and that was the capture of Nova Scotia. In 1756 and 57, Britain suffers a further defeat with the fall of its Fort Oswego and Fort William Henry. Now, the war does begin to turn in favor of the British in 1758, due in large part to this gentleman. William Pitt is named Prime Minister of Great Britain. He's a very popular member of Parliament. He pledges large sums of money and resources to defeating these Catholic French. So Great Britain spends a large sum of money to pay new and young recruits in the colonies. They're trying to invigorate the British forces. So in 1759, it works. Let's just say it works, okay? So in 1759, the British take Quebec. Now remember, I mentioned in the last video, if you want to control New France, you have to take control of Quebec. So they do take control of Quebec in 1759. They're able to gain control. It's a year later, in 1760, they take control of Montreal, which is another major standing place for New France. At this point, the French Empire in North America has crumbled completely. They no longer have any major settlements or forts that they can use as defensive purposes. Now, this is 1760. The war does continue on until 1763, 3 more years, while over in Europe, but the French are defeated in the colonies. Now in 1763, they do sign the Treaty of Paris. The treaty signaled a dramatic reversal of the fortune of France. Indeed, New France, which had been founded in the early 1600s, ceases to exist. They lose all of their territory in North America. The British had now gained mastery over North America. They gained the territory between the Appalachian Mountains and the Mississippi River. They also gained control of Canada and Florida. The empire not only gains this, though, they also acquire French sugar islands in the West Indies, the French trading posts in India, and French-held posts in the west coast of Africa. So Great Britain's victory in the French and Indian War meant that it had also truly become a global power. Now, in this next map, I will show you how much it drastically changed British control in these colonies. On the left, you have the map that we started with. It's 1713. So you see the English at the top had begun to move into Canada, and you have the English colonies. Now on the right is after the Treaty of Paris of 1763. Great Britain now has property and land all the way to the Mississippi River. They also have Canada and Florida. Now, not mentioned in your reading is what happened to the Native American allies of the British that helped them fight. They were left out of the Treaty of Paris. That they were agreed that they would keep their settlers on east of the Appalachian Mountains, while the Native American allies could have west of the Appalachian Mountains to the Mississippi River. Obviously, this does not work out, and it is honestly not true, because settlers instantly began moving westward at a very fast pace to the Appalachians and over them. Now, in the American colonies, ties with Great Britain are closer than ever. Professional British soldiers had fought alongside Anglo-American militiamen. They forged a great sense of a shared identity as British subjects. With this victory, there's a lot of colonial pride. Colonists are celebrating their identities. But there's an issue. This also sows the seed of trouble. See, this war, it leaves Great Britain greatly in debt. They are broke. So in the 1760s and 70s, efforts to deal with this debt through imperial reforms, such as taxation, would cause unintended consequences that strain and threaten to tear the empire they finally built apart. Specifically, what leads to the American Revolution. So that is going to be the end of this lecture.